talking about repeated behavior, okay? Because if I'm walking down the hallway and Biff shoves me into the lockers, right? He never did it before. He never does it again. It's not bullying, okay? It's assault. Biff should be punished, right? But it's not bullying. Because if it happens once, I'm going to be upset about it, and it's going to bother me, and I might, again, think about it that day or the next day, but it's going to blow over pretty quickly. If it happens many times, repeatedly, every day or every week or with some regularity, now everything changes. Okay, now I'm going to avoid certain areas of the school because I'm afraid I'll run into Biff. I'm not going to go into the bathroom because, that's a danger zone. I'm not going to go to my locker because Biff's is 2 doors down. I might be sitting in algebra class. I have no idea what x squared means, but I know where Biff is because I know if I run into him or one of his cronies, I don't know how that translates, cronies, it's going to be a bad day for me, right? I mean, I just know that's going to happen. That's what the repetitive nature of bullying does. It's a relationship, right? A dysfunctional one. I got an email about 2 years ago from a 65-year-old man, 5-page-long email describing in detail his experience with bullying when he was in 5th grade. And not a day had gone by that he hadn't thought about it. And I'm not talking about getting beaten up physically, really serious physical harm. He was just called names, and names that were a variation of his first name. And it happened for weeks and months and actually years. And it got to the point that when he got into his early 20s, he legally changed his name. It was that big of a deal. I mean, what inspires a 65-year-old man to email a complete stranger to talk about his bully experience from 50-plus years ago? That's what the repetitive nature does. So imagine your friend takes your picture, okay? Maybe you pose for the picture because you're best friends. Maybe that picture is taken without your knowledge, because every teen these days, it seems, has a cell phone, and they all have the ability to take pictures. They're small, right? They can be taken in places where privacy is expected, so you don't even know your picture's taken. But even if you're best friends, if it's one thing we know about adolescence is that friend is a fluid concept, right? So one day we're best friends, the next day we're worst enemies because you looked at my boyfriend the wrong way, or you wore the same color halter top as me. I don't know what it is. I'm mad at you, so I upload that picture to hotornot.com where people can rate your attractiveness. And when enough people vote on this, I'll send a link to everybody in the school so they can see how unattractive you are. And after they vote, then I'll send a link to the target herself so she can be reminded of how unattractive she is. Now, as adults, if somebody created a website like this of us, we'd be like, I'm not hot. Big deal. I don't care. I mean, it wouldn't really bother us that much, right? But you have to remember, probably at least 2/3 of you were adolescents at one point in your lifetime. Maybe a little bit higher than that. But you got to remember what it was like back then. You got to remember what mattered back then. It was all about what other people thought, right? And in this case, it's not just your bully that thinks you're unattractive. It's the whole school. It's the whole World Wide Web. It could have been your bully clicking on this 1,000 times, but from the perspective of the target, everybody's in on the joke. So I'm talking with them about all the really bad stuff their kids are doing online, right? The cyberbullying and inappropriate social networking things and maybe sexting, right? Inappropriate pictures, things like that. And my biggest fear is that parents will leave that presentation with their heads spinning, thinking, how in the heck am I going to protect my kids? Well, I know. I'll just take away the technology, right? But we can't take away the technology, nor should we try. The technology is not the problem. Okay, bullying existed long before Facebook was created. It does create certain challenges and issues, and I'll talk more about those in a minute. But let me give you one example. I don't know what it is here in Canada. I'm sure it's probably similar to the U.S., but anybody know what's the number one cause of death among teens? Suicide's number 3. Car accidents, right? Car accidents. Do we take cars away from teens? In some cases we do, absolutely, right? If they can't handle a responsibility. But look at how we approach driving, okay? At least in the States, first of all, as parents, and we do this everywhere, we're model appropriate behavior ourselves, right? So 10 and 2, right? Looking both ways. Maybe we do a better job of this when our kids are in the car than when they're not, right? Then we force them to wait to be a certain age. Then we force them to sit in a classroom for many hours learning the rules of the road and the laws and how far back from a school bus you need to be and all these different things. They have to study all those rules. Then they have to take a test to demonstrate that they learned those rules. Then we get them behind the wheel, right? And then where are we? We're in the passenger seat. We're guiding them. We're talking about, all these different buttons mean, and, watch out for that person. He doesn't know where he's going over there. This is a tight corner and slippery roads, and, practice, 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 parallel parking, right? All these different things. Then they have to take another test behind the wheel while they're driving, and then we give them a license, right? But even after we give them the license, the law puts certain restrictions on them. We as parents put restrictions on them. Back before dark, nobody else in the car, keep the radio down, no texting, all these different things. How do we approach technology? We hand them a cell phone and we say, don't do anything stupid. That's the issue here. We need to take the time to teach teens how to use these devices safely and responsibly and appropriately. If there's one thing I want us all to agree upon here today as caring individuals, we care about kids, right? It's that it's all of our responsibilities to do something. Okay? Everybody in here has an obligation, whether it's moral, ethical, legal, obligation to do something. I'm not saying that the school should expel the students that created this. By the way, they knew exactly who did it. The students admitted to doing it. It should tell you something about this particular situation that the parents didn't require them to take it down, but that's a topic for another conference. I'm not, expecting the police to go in there and handcuff these kids and drag them off to juvie. I'm not saying the internet service provider should ban internet access for these kids, but I am looking for service, right? Everybody has an obligation to do something, even if it's as simple as saying, I'm not entirely sure what I can do here, but I'm on your side. I stand with you because this is wrong, okay? Because it is wrong. Everybody agrees that this is wrong. So a lot of times the person being targeted just feels so alone and feels like it's them against the world.